We're about to get into my strongest opinion.
This is your strongest opinion? This next one?
2013.
This is... I have no feelings
it's
about
not my
this stage at all. It has
Well,
no personality.
Well, exactly. That's why it's my strongest opinion. It's my least favorite. It's my least. Let me rephrase. My least favorite stage that fully worked, that like actually functioned the way it was planned.
It was, yeah. Well, it was an alright stage. I don't think it like killed any performances too badly, but it just doesn't have any personality to it, other than the fact that in this picture I've put here, which is I think this is
only
Estonia.
Oh yeah.
This is Estonia. Like, it looks, this sort of design on the front, it makes it look kind of like a video game Stargate situation.
Let me grab a flag from the wall before Euan comes back, because I'm going to need him for my rant on this next one.
Yes, okay, go. How many flags do you have? I thought you were getting the Sweden flag because you're like a Sweden fan.
I need to replace a flag. I can't just have a flag mysteriously disappear.
And I was gonna be like, Ben, you know, we can't see the Sweden flag, and then I saw that and I understood. Now I understand.
This is my hatred for the stage.
You know, I think that was actually the best stage that Valentina Monetta got to perform on. I like 2014 a lot, but it didn't do any of the performers any favors.
Oh, yeah, but something about the build of the stage, I'll get to it.
Of 2014?
13.
Oh, 2013. Okay.
Oh god, 2013 is going to be very contentious. Also, really sorry for that break.
It's fine. It's fine.
It gave me a chance to get a prop.
Yeah, okay. Ben's got a surprise ready for you. Are you ready to jump back into it?
Yep.
So now we move on to 2013. Who wants to go first?
I'll take this for this one. This is the year I will never forgive Europe for one reason and one reason. It's not related to the stage, but also it is. I will grab this. Valentina Monetta, Continent. Let's have a talk for a second.
What were you doing non-qualifying this entry? What?
That non-qualifier aside, I think the stage itself, awful. I do not like it. Sweden tried to do this fancy thing with projectors only and no LEDs. Didn't work. Doesn't work. Why? What were the crystals for? What were the weird floating things in the stage for? Why? The stage is, when we're talking about stages that are too low, this one is egregiously too low and egregiously too close to the crowd. What I think is one of the reasons that qualified Valentina is there were so many shots that she was just blocked by flags, which is a function of the fans having giant flags that year for some reason. But also, the stage is too close to the crowd and too low to them that if someone's holding up a flag, her face got blocked in like half of the shots that were trying to do a bit of a wider shot. You can only see her in the close shots. Only in the shots where she's holding the lamp. It's also behind me. Like, Valentina's non-qualifier is what makes me hate the stage, yes. But also, like, it is just so there and bad, and you can't, there's, of all the years, why switch to projectors in 2013? You have LEDs everywhere. It's cheap Sweden. Like, why? And then you have to then have acts that take up the whole stage, like It's My Life, where it basically just is taking up the entire stage because most of the stage is nothing.
Which It's My Life was this year? We've had too many of them.
Caesar Sam? That's
the one with the descending tampons.
Yes, that was a part of the stage. That was not just, was it Romania?
Oh, the vampire!
Was it Romania?
Yeah, it's Romania.
Like, yeah, there's so many songs that get dwarfed. It has good smoke, Ukraine and Norway did well, but also at the same time, it felt like they're just standing there and there was so nothing around them. It's small but big. So like if you're a solo ballad, you're dwarfed by that stage. Meanwhile, like if you were a bigger group, it just didn't feel big enough. There's no dimming the lights, nothing like that. Beginning of Valentina's shot too bright. The stage just wasn't dark enough. And I hate the stage. This is a null point. This is at the bot of every stage that worked. This is where I'm getting my qualifier and be able to put another year below. Every stage that functioned the way it was supposed to, this is the lowest. This is my least favorite stage.
Damn, you have
close
some
to all
beef.
time. I mean, for good reason.
All right, Euan, what do you have to say about 2013?
I love it. I'm joking. Fuck me, what the hell were they thinking? You know, right, I get why they were wanting to make something more intimate, really like not rely on the LEDs after we'd had like such a heavy reliance on them for like previous years, and well, not immediate previous years, and like really focus on this. And because Portugal did the same after Salvador's, when a lot of people said like, oh, why have they bought these lights? They're so much more expensive. Surely an LED pan. Like, no, that's not the reason. They wanted acts to create a certain atmosphere. But and we'll get to the Portuguese stage, but Portugal at least like try to allow acts to do something with it. This one, the stage is there, and God, is it fucking awful. It's too small and too big. Like countries like Germany, vile song, but still the staging was dreadful.
They had like
I don't know what you
stairs.
call them. Are they just stairs? And look, I'm a slut for a staircase in Eurovision, but it needs to allow. Sorry, I just need to try and not rant about how much I hate Germany that year. Like it doesn't allow you to have something that big prop in the middle of the stage. And if your stage is not allowing you to have something of that size in it, it has not worked. It's too light, it's too dark, it's just wrong. The weird paneling at the back just looks weird. And something like this should really allow for like good lighting. But then you look at the best song of that year, which was Igranka. The lighting just doesn't work. It can't focus. It doesn't flash. It doesn't go loud enough. It just doesn't work. Then because also on the similar vein, Slovenia, you're trying to go for a club dancey song. There's not enough spotlights. It's just not working. Sweden should have been disqualified for the following year for how bad this staging was. And can I just say it would have saved us from a terrible song? But we've got to have some Euan opinions.
I liked it.
Are you talking about 2014 being the bad song?
Yes.
I'm going to grab something. You can keep this in.
But also, I mean, Sweden 2013 is also, Jesus fucking Christ. Sorry for my swearing, but fuck me, is it
I told you were allowed to swear.
Yeah, but there's being allowed to like swear 1 or 2 times, and then we get in trouble because Tim's decided to watch this back, and then Euan said the word cunt 14 times in the space of a minute.
I might try and bleep it, but I'm not gonna stop you from cursing.
But like, it's just dreadful. I'm really glad we're going to Malmo next year, because it means when we say the Malmo stage, we can probably have something that's a little bit nicer than this. Although I say that, I mean, we're long past the heights of like 2016's and 2017 Melfest staging. But back to 2013, it's a stage. I hate it. Everything's wrong with it. Sweden, you should pay reparations. You should pay for Bosnia and Herzegovina to come back for what you did to us by making us look at this stage.
And pay for Valentina's non-qualifier.
Okay, now see, I came into this thinking that I would have the least nice opinions on this stage, and now I'm feeling defensive of it. I think it has no personality. The most personality it has is that it kind of looks like a video game Stargate portal space something with the little here, I'll zoom in again so I can show you what I'm talking about. Like this, it looks like it looks sci-fi, and that's really the most personality that it has. But I don't think it was too small. I think it was a perfectly adequately sized stage, and I think that we saw a lot of acts use it really well. I think that, well, I disagree with everybody's complaints about the lighting. First of all, I think that a lot of different varieties of vibe were able to succeed here. I really do think so. not necessarily succeed in terms of points, but succeed in terms of look good, no matter what points they got. I don't know. I think it was okay. There are stages I hate a lot more than this. It didn't really do a lot of people dirty, I don't think. And I understand that I'm in the minority here. I understand that, Ben. I understand that I'm in the minority here, but it's not a great stage. I just don't think it was that bad.
It's the lowest of all these. It definitely is the worst.
Can I argue that we at least put it above Istanbul? Can we?
No.
No. I will say one good thing about it is if you wanted something that was a bit darker but not dark, and you wanted a solid block of color like L'essenziale, fantastic. But then again, on the flip side, it completely ruined Birds.
Well, Birds was just bad, so
don't make me go grab
Jesus
my Dutch.
Christ!
Don't make me. Okay, I can't keep grabbing flags off the wall, or else I'll have nothing at this point.
Ben, I need to ask you something. How many flags do you have?
4. Norway, Netherlands, San Marino, Sweden. My stands. I need to get a Finland.
You only have 4
actually.
flags? Where's Denmark? Wow.
I don't have Denmark.
Speaking of Denmark, guess where the contest was hosted in 2014?
Just a heads up, this is going to be a block of some negative comments.
All right. I resigned myself. Okay, who's first?
Negative.
I think because I know my comments are going to start to be completely different. I should probably get my negativity out of the way first.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
In the actual name of was the point of that water feature? We'll get to water features later on. Don't worry, we'll discuss that more. But what the hell was this? Also, one of my favorite tidbits of that year is one of the cameramen for Emily DeForest, after she fell in the fountain, but the fountain was basically not used by. Did any? No,
Rainmaker.
Poland used it.
And,
did it add anything to the performance? Yeah,
the interval act.
I mean, but the interval act was that song by Emily DeForest, who's probably one of the worst.
I thought it was a very good interval act, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
The things are too opaque and translucent, but not translucent enough. It's just, it doesn't work. It doesn't allow things to be dark as possible. Like something like Norway, which was a terrible song that year. I'm just goading Ben right now. Norway was terrible that year, but the staging really did it a dirty.
Winner.
I mean, sorry, it was the most ballad by number song in the history of Eurovision, and I say this as a sad lad enjoyer. It was too tall, but I love the tall ones. I raved about Düsseldorf, but this is just tall for no reason. And then you've got the thing of that weird one where they go through the little slats at the top, just doesn't work. And then you just have them randomly not working, like the bit of Sweden just not, for some reason it's just turned off. And I know that a lot of people weren't focusing on it, but I was just focusing on that. Where is it? The plumes of, I don't know what you call that pyro. It's like smoke, but it's not actually smoke.
CO2.
Is it CO2? Yeah. It's so loud. Not Turin loud, but loud. It was just, it ruined so many performances. I hated it. Denmark, I love you. I'm a strong defender of you in the contest, but what the actual fuck?
So on the flip side, this is my favorite stage of all time. Just to follow it up with. This is my favorite stage of all time. I think it got plenty dark. Sanna Nielsen's one of my favorite Eurovision songs of all time is Undo, and I know you don't like it, but I will. I don't know.
I wouldn't have criticized it if I knew that was one of your favorite ones of all time.
It's in my top 10.
I try and avoid
doing that. Part of what makes this fun is that we criticize each other's faves. All right.
But so I thought I didn't notice anything wrong. I thought it got dark perfectly. And her whole point was it's supposed to be black with just her little cage around her, and then at the end it would go into the disco ball and reflect, and so you had it it looked amazing. I thought it got dark, and also what the thing I love about the stage is it could be from a technical aspect, from my engineering, the cubes could be transparent. They were a scrim, so you could have a screen of them or just be see-through at the same time. So you could have like it was in Sea of Flags where they had all the different countries around it, versus then just the back screen that Conchita used only. Or you could have like Calm After the Storm is my defense for this stage, because it was so immersive that you were in that moment with them. You could see the trail going down on the bottom of the stage. It was also like where my jaw was on the floor and saying it doesn't get dark enough, because that's the song for the stage is Calm After the Storm. It was so you could feel it. You were in that moment of the song. I love this stage with every ounce of my being. My only critique is that it has if someone didn't know how to use it, it could make you dwarf. May Feingold did not know how to use this stage in the slightest, because all the camera shots were like above the stage, pointing down, which just made you look tiny instead of just doing a camera shot right. And that was on the delegation's side. That wasn't even like the DR's fault. That was Israel not asking for the right camera shots at that point. And it's my favorite stage. I love it. It is so good. Actually, it isn't my favorite stage. I lie. It's tied for my favorite stage. I love it so much.
So I like it. I think it's really visually very interesting, and it has personality, which is something that I could not say about 2013. It's distinctive. And it's distinctive in a way. I also really liked the look of the LEDs. I liked a lot the squareness of it. I wish the water feature had been utilized more, because I really enjoyed Rainmaker because it used the water. But that was an interval act, and none of the performances really used the water in a way that I had maybe wanted them to. I don't really know why that was, but that is, I guess, sort of a point of disappointment for me. The other thing about this stage is that it was shaped a little weirdly, just in terms of having the triangle out to the crowd instead of it being flat or circular. I think that could contribute to some performers being dwarfed a little bit. Like if they're standing at the front towards the point of the triangle, that's the half of the cube or whatever, the way that, the stage shape. Listen, it's been a while since I took geometry, okay? But if you're standing at the front of that, it looks like there's so much behind you. And because of the way that the LEDs were built, like there are ways to counteract that. I think that some songs took the way the LEDs worked and made the stage small on purpose. Like Estonia is a good example of that. Like it made her look walled in, and they were doing that on purpose. And the fact that it wasn't a great song is just sort of tangential. Like they used the stage in a pretty good way. I used to really love this stage. I have fallen out of love with it a little bit as time has passed. And as I've grown to have really strong opinions on things like stage size and stage shape and camera angles, even if they're not opinions that I'm articulating very cleanly today. But I still do like it. I would argue for like left side in terms of our little thing here. I would argue to put it up here with 2007. How do we feel about that?
I would personally say non-qualifier.
I would put it at the top, but I could concede above only left side if it's above 2007.
Can we put it right here?
This is our compromise.
This is our compromise.
Fine.
Okay. All right. We've been on this call for an hour and a half.
Oh, this was going to be a contentious and long call.
Oh, one more fun fact. It's the last stage I think we've had that has a touch sensitive floor, and that worked so well with Montenegro. And I want someone to bring a touch sensitive floor back.
Montenegro was really gorgeous.
2015.
So 2015. Can I go first? Can I go first?
Yes.
I love it. This is, I think, actually my favorite of what we're looking at today. I love the pipes with the lights in them that border the stage. I love the way it sweeps around. It looks cool. It's visually distinctive, and the stage has an identity. When you're watching something, you can say, oh, that's 2015, because the stage looks distinctive. And it's not too big, and it's not too close to the audience, and it's not too low. And everybody used it really well. There were some songs that didn't use it really well, but on the whole, most countries were really able to utilize this. It was big enough that songs like Moldova could have their great big set pieces, but not so big that songs without great big set pieces looked bad. It allowed for a lot of intimacy, but when songs really wanted to go for wide shots, those wide shots looked good, and it didn't make the performers look super tiny. Like the bits where you see the crowd cheering sort of added to the performance, and I don't really have a good explanation for why that is. I don't know very much about stage construction or architecture or anything, but I think that, you know, it was just well done. It looked neat. It wasn't too big. It wasn't too small. It's visually interesting. It had the cool lighting feature that some songs, A Million Voices actually did it really well with the sort of like the sweeping of the lights. So I like it, and I will defend it. And that is what I have to say. End rant.
As a defender of the stage, I feel I would like to go next. There is one thing that I would like to say that is wrong with the stage. At the front of the stage, there are steps, and the steps were used by Mons for going on the stage and winning. There's also steps that go onto the green room, and I don't really think it was acceptable for URF to not have proper contingency for that staging. And if the song had won, given that there was a wheelchair user who was one of the participants, because if you know in the opening, when they come out of the green room and they go towards the stage, she is sitting in her chair at the bottom of those steps. And I don't think, and I think it should be noted that that wasn't acceptable for ORF, and they should have really tried to make the stage more inclusive, especially because they knew for quite a lot of time.
I kind of wondered how she got up there.
So I think she would have gone along because the point where Mons went on stage after winning, it isn't the typical one. They opened a big opening in the middle of the crowd, so that for her to get on stage, she probably went around the side as she would have done for her performance in the typical way. That is a criticism of the stage. That's the only criticism I've had stage had, but I think it's something that is worth noting. That the stagings do need to be very inclusive of people because of all abilities. Because this is a prime example of where they've just not been. But moving on, I do love the stage. I love the way, because it's almost like an eye, and I love the way that the outer bits of it really, the orbs interact with the light, because you also had this cascading rail of orbs that come down at the front of the stage.
Oh, on the ceiling.
For Conchita.
Not really a lot. Yeah, because Conchita used it really, but not really a lot of performances used it. I think this is also one of the best stages for how the floor interacts with artists want to do that top down. Really think Armenia, when they've got them standing on the stage and moving, and it's the spinning parts, it works so well. Also, there's the right amount of scale at the back for if you want to have a big showpiece on the backstage, like Hungary. I know a lot of people don't like the song. I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs.
It was well
in
staged.
The contest. Yes,
it was pretty well staged.
But the way that tree just grows up, it's so unbelievably beautiful.
And it didn't wash her out or anything.
Yeah, it's because the lighting worked, because having that the stage allowed a lot of darkness. But if the stage had been too light, it wouldn't have really worked. But then it was dark enough to allow Mons's performance, because his was not on the backstage. It is a purpose built projection screen. Canvas, I don't even know what you would call it. It's just block, like
it's just a little canvas, and they project from behind, so you can't
I what the actual word would be. But you stick that on a different stage, like, okay, I will give you the criticism of 2012, that wouldn't have worked there because it would think it'd be a bit too light. Sorry, not 2012, 2011. It would be a bit too light because it's not really going for that full darkness. And it's really one of the best stages in terms of versatility, and I love it. And I really want us to go back to that level of stylized stagings, because it doesn't follow the concept of the the visual branding of the contest, but it's so beautiful regardless.
It sort of does, in the sense that the visual branding of the contest was sort of circular and particulated in that way.
Sorry,
but
when I
it's
say
not...
in terms of like the building bridges, it's not they've not I'm really glad they didn't just dump a big bridge.
I think
I wouldn't have minded a big bridge, but
I think you two might have converged me a bit, because I originally do have this a bit lower, but now like I've been thinking of it, it's like, yeah, something like Love Injected worked so well. The screens allowed for it. It had a very good color story. It was red. It was red versus Mons, which is dark, and he could do his little balloon boy thing. And then like Beauty Never Lies, which is just bright positivity, happiness happening on stage. My only really critiques it does the circular, the eye, the wall of the eye makes it feel a bit closed off, in my opinion. I like it when at least the audience can interact with it a bit, that they're kind of around the stage. And so it's not just like you are looking into a window. That's like my really only critique of it, is that it's kind of just like there's a barrier between the audience and the performers right there. And you're just looking into them, and it's not like they're around a thing. But otherwise, it's quite lovely.
So I think that I would be happy to put this up here.
Yes.
Right? I think we can all agree on that.
Personally, argue ahead of Athens.
Well, the reason I'm not automatically putting it there is because I do think you are right that we should dock it points for not being accessible.
Actually, I think you're right, because although Athens did not have a wheelchair user, so they didn't have to deal with this, so we don't know what contingency they would have put in. So yeah, I think it's fair to dock them for that. So yeah, I think
with Athens, from what I remember, they were able to just sort of walk straight out from the gaps between the LED stairs.
Yeah.
And the green room wasn't like in front of the stage. It was in a different area, probably backstage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But under 2016.
On to 2016. 2016 is another stage that I felt had no personality, and that I felt a lot of acts struggled with it. It was big, and it was like the structure of not really the back wall, but the sides of the stage were a little weird, and I think like something just felt off, and maybe that was SVT not doing camera shots very well. I don't know, but a lot of people did really get dwarfed by this, and the people who used this stage well did it really well. Like Jamala, obviously, like this, it was a really masterful use of the stage. But I think that there were a lot of acts who just kind of got made tiny. Although 2016 is not the worst offender on that front. Not even in the years that we haven't gotten to yet, 2016 is not the worst offender. Like, it just felt kind of off. And there were songs that did really well. I thought that Belgium used the stage really well, but it just felt a little weird. And those were the vibes that I got. Who wants to go next?
Oh, so I used to be a heavy hard stan. This used to be one of my favorites of all time. I've kind of gone a bit further down. It's been for me, but when you say Snow Carrot, I love it because it is so Swedish. It is so, especially for the time. This is 2016 peak Avicii, everything Swedish EDM. It is so techno-ish. It's that bright white, but it's a cool thing. It's so Swedish. is what it really is. It's a giant runway, first and foremost. And Sweden has a good fashion industry. It's what they did for the entirety of the flag parade as well.
Yeah, I
Like,
remember that.
it's a runway.
As an aside, can we all agree that the ode to Swedish fashion and dance music is the greatest
Yes.
flag parade interval act that has ever existed?
Oh yeah, the music for that is so good because it's a celebration of like the music of Sweden that you wouldn't hear at Eurovision, which is Swedish EDM, Swedish House Mafia, Avicii, Alesso, Galantis, all of them. It's just so Swedish. It like, especially after now going to Stockholm and seeing things like modern Swedish versus old Sweden, it's so good. I love it. The shape of it has kind of gotten on me now. It is that weird runway shape where it's a bit bigger in the back, the longer runway, so it's pinched in at the sides, and then it flares out in the front. So like, yeah, it does get a bit awkward. So if you're like kind of stuck in the main runway section before it flares. And it could look a bit deep. Also, I don't get what the point of the little things that rose up were. Those kind of felt useless in my opinion. It's high left side for me because I still really love it. And some of my it was versatile. You could have Donny Montel doing his thing. You could have Jamala's just masterpiece of art on stage, which will never be topped. And then you could just have so much happen. Or you can even have someone like Greta, who's extremely robbed because of Sergey, but still have her little like moment on stage with their own little LED panels. And it was very good. I love the stage.
I have very conflicting thoughts about this one. I would actually disagree with Ben's point about the weird things at the like at the side that move down. I think that the countries that use them really well. Like Jamala and used like I thought they both had terrible songs and terrible performances, but they really used those columns well. And it really added a lot more to try and create more intimate staging. But then when they're up and you're creating that big far back, what I would say is it sort of works really well. But what I would say is it doesn't really come across well on the actual broadcast. But that stage is so deep that it just doesn't make any sense because those ramps at the back are about the depth of the rest of the stage, which you can really kind of only see if they were in the arena, but it doesn't feel like there's any need for them because they used them in is it the opening to semi-final 2 with
that was Love Love Peace Peace, wasn't it?
No, semi-final that was the final interval. The opening, it's the one where it's like that's Eurovision. Basically, the only time that they were really used effectively, those ramp things. So I feel they could have pushed the stage back a fair bit. I also don't think the satellite works really well. I think having a satellite sort of like curving around, it didn't work. If they'd had an angular one just straight off and then the stage going back, it probably would have worked a little bit better. I do love how it works with the spotlights because I don't think any other contest has really worked as well because yeah, you have that prison of light with those beams going up really well. And it's also one that really works for like sweeping side shots and like ones going out. So, but I personally don't think I can rank this one. So I'm not really caring where you put it because what I like and also what I dislike are so equally. But I don't really think it's justified. I'll put it in saved by the jury. So yeah, I have very conflicting views on this one. But what I will say is Montenegro was the most visually amazing performance of the year, and it should have won.
It was a good song, but I would not go that far. Then
also Denmark were robbed.
Oh. I would not go that far. Then where do you want to put this?
I have it as left side, but I could concede it as like above 2005.
Can we put it at like the bottom of left side?
Yes.
Because I don't I don't really like this stage, but my issues with it aren't strong enough to really negotiate any further down than there.
My love of the stage
is... Can I argue, though, that it is better than 2014?
No. That's my favorite.
Honestly, I would be willing to be flexible there, but
I'm not willing. I'm not burning my negotiating capital on either of those stages because I feel I'm going to have a few arguments later on.
Yeah, and it's worth saying that part of the reason I'm so about 2016 is that 2016 was my first contest, and so I look on most things 2016 with a certain amount of nostalgia, which means that I can't really accurately rank it because thinking about it just makes me feel like I'm 15 running home from school to catch the back half of the semifinal again.
I've had to like put nostalgia aside because this was the first one I ever went to, and I do remember the feelings of walking into that arena and just seeing the purple, so gorgeous with the way all the lights were lit up. It was just completely jaw-breaking, and jaw-breaking. You know the term I'm meaning.
Jaw-dropping.
That's but it's like on but I've not really had the same vibe when walking into the other two that I've seen. So, and it might just give you the first one, but like it did stop me a little. Holy fuck! I cannot
Cries
wait.
in American. Cries in broke American. Shall we move on?
Yes.
This one was okay. I don't really have strong feelings on it. It was like fine. It wasn't great, but it was like fine.
Yeah. My dislike of the stage is my dislike of how people used it. Because like it has, from a technical aspect, something very cool on that. The LEDs, I'm just gonna call it semi-transparent, because I think Serbia had used it, is that you can have a display, but then you have the lights right behind it. So when they shine through, you can almost dwarf the LED and just see the lights. They use a scrim-ish type of thing where you could have the display just black out for a second, show the LEDs from right behind it without like 2019 needing to spin or anything. So it did a really cool technical thing. But at the same time, everyone used it so poorly. I have to knock it down because why were there so many just... The LED was just an LED. It wasn't fancier as they got forward, and it was just like people just put faces and everything in it, which like isn't the fault of the stage, but the stage almost allowed for that too much in a way. It was just
I think
too plain.
I think sort of like 2016 up through now, there has been sort of a lack of creativity in the way that stuff like that is used that makes me view the stages also a little bit more negatively.
Yeah. And then like the satellite stage also felt small and a bit distant because it wasn't even connected to the main stage.
It only really worked for Salvador, and that was it.
Yeah. And like
some would argue it didn't work for Salvador.
Argue that further.
And then you have the weird circle part. I think only like Christian Kostov used. And like I can't even tell because there were like screens that came down. I can't even tell if
Slovenia and North Macedonia did use them as well.
Okay. Yeah, it was like there's features that people didn't use. The shark head or whatever it's supposed to be was also okay. It's like, yeah, a Ukrainian thing, but
I think what you're saying about the stage elements not used, like that is applicable to every year. Like 2013 has a trap door that only Montenegro uses. Like there's lots of times where that stage, or 2018 where you've got that big risen section that only Austria uses. Like that's the same with every year. I really wish they would also do technical videos where they like properly demonstrate every single aspect of the stage. Just it doesn't serve any purpose, but just weirdos like us like to know exactly what's happening. Personally, I adore the top screen is based on traditional Ukrainian headdresses, and I love the inclusion of like traditional culture because they've really worked it well without making it too kitschy. I do think in the original designs they were meant to be, the 2021 panel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's semi-transparent. So apparently, like the stage originally was meant to be completely surrounded by that. That could be risen and lower. That didn't go through because, like, for those of you not aware, 2017 was a little bit of a complete and utter show in the organization. So things were a little bit later. And I think that also is why a lot of countries might have struggled to stage it because they've not really had as much time.
Yeah, because it was really up. There was a lot that was really up in the air. And I think mostly it was because of it was mostly because of the Russia thing, right?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't just because of that, because like the original broadcaster was shut down and a new one was set up. but the new one
That's
wasn't
funny. I
also
don't
being
remember that
given.
happening at all.
Yeah, like Krista Bjorkman took over like a couple weeks before the production even started. And
Yeah, so like the script wasn't started. Realistically, they get like this is started in like January. This wasn't until like April, and then there was the whole thing about like the contest might actually be removed from Ukraine because the EBU were not allowing them to host the contest if Yulia wasn't allowed to enter the country. But also they weren't like the entire production team did quit in November, because they just weren't given enough money to do anything. So I think for what we then got from that, it worked really well. I don't think it needed a satellite, and if it did need satellite, it needs to be satellite that actually connected.
Salvador Sobral wouldn't have won without the satellite, and maybe
that's why they should get rid of the satellite. Also from a safety standpoint, that the badly positioned satellite also allowed the streaker to happen. Like, you couldn't really do that with any other ones, but because it's a complete separate satellite, you need to be able to enter it from the bottom, rather than just walk on it from the front, like say 2016. So huge security issue. They just shouldn't have been allowed to happen. And that I think if there was a joined up satellite, more countries probably would have used it better. I do think it has one of the best drop downs. The way that Yana Borzeska used those panels and the sweeping thing with Kristen Kostov, because I didn't like that performance, but I really liked how they used the sweeping down from the top of the stage. Overall, I liked it, and I loved the way that the explosion of color into the arena, as the flags were came out of the headdress, just works amazingly. I loved it.
Where do we? Can I put this like here?
I would put it towards the top.
Yeah, I would put it like, if we're going to put it in there, I would put it above Kiev 1.
Yeah, because this is Kiev 2, right? So
yeah,
let's do that. Are we happy with that?
Yeah.
Like, personally, I would put left hand side, but I do understand why you're not one to. But I think